What's up, you guys? It's your girl Quella Graphic Love coming to you again with yet another video. I'm so thankful for all the feedback that I received on my previous videos, and thank you all for watching. I love to see the engagement, the support, and it makes your girl feel good, like people are interested in what I have to say and whatever else I have to offer. Anyways, so as most of you guys already know, those who follow the channel or those who have been keeping up with me, I'm a graphic designer, and I went to school for graphic design. I got my bachelor's degree in it. Bachelor's of Fine Arts degree in graphic design. It's also right there. I was self-taught for like previous years before I even went into college to do graphic design. But one question that I get a lot on social media and also offline, just when I interact with other youth who may be interested in the field, is should you still go to school for graphic design in 2020X? Meaning like 20 in the 2018, 19 is it still meaningful to go to school for graphic design? And for me, that's a hard question to answer with just one simple answer, because I was both self-taught for a good amount of years, and then I also went and got my certified degree in graphic design. So for me, I don't have a straight answer, but it's an answer. I mean, it's a question that I get all the time, and I just wanted to kind of share my experience when I went to school for graphic design and things that I learned going through school route versus me just trying to find it out on my own. Things I didn't know. It varies. So yeah, that is what we're gonna figure out today. Is graphic design still something you should go to school for? Let's have a look. So like I mentioned, I was a self-taught graphic designer. Probably in the 10th grade, I took a graphic design Photoshop course, and just the Photoshop basics, and my older sister was the one who told me about the class because one of her favorite teachers taught the class. So pretty much from there, I was like taking, doing small design projects and assignments in that class, and really learning Photoshop and learning, I believe I learned Adobe Illustrator. The Photoshop that I started on was like Photoshop CS6. It was either, was it CS6? No, I think it was CS2 or CS3, or just the entire CS series, the first. So it was some years back. I am telling my age, but I don't care. So yeah, prior to that, I took another course at a different school because I went to multiple schools for high school, and I also learned different forms of graphic design where we did like book layouts for editorial, we did posters, we did logos, we did photo manipulation. So I was exposed to that through those classes, but we then moved and I just started to take up and learn Photoshop how I remembered it, and from Photoshop I learned Illustrator a little bit more, and then InDesign, and the main core Adobe programs and software that you use as a graphic designer. So I would do projects for my MySpace pages, I would do little graphics and little GIFs, I would do logos, I would do mixtape covers. I pretty much did everything just by being self-taught, but I really took it seriously in the 11th or 12th grade was when I was like, graphic design is what I really truly enjoy. Like, I love all aspects of design. I'm obsessed with it. Like, I want to know more about it. I want to know how I can maneuver with this field, and is it something, a career path that is good for me? So then I went into college to study graphic design. And college, depending on where you go to get your certification or your degree, everyone has a different experience, obviously. There were other students in my program who felt like, they weren't really getting their money's worth and getting it. And I didn't feel like I got my money's worth either. Well, I did learn a lot. I'll say that. Let me rephrase that. I learned a lot within my college career in the school that I went to. But for the marked up cost that it costs, I think it was overpriced, but I learned a lot of valuable information. My professors were very knowledgeable in the field and they had actual field experience. So it wasn't like they were just hiring people off the street to fill these positions and teach kids graphic design or teach them whatever it is that they know. So they were professionals that had actually done things in the graphic design field. So that's one aspect that I can touch on. To go to school for graphic design, my degree was kind of expensive. And it was more so expensive that, like, if I had to do it again, I would not go to that particular school or that, like, those particular branches within that school. So it can get very pricey. It can get very expensive, and I know that's a deterrent for people who want to pursue the degree and pursue the career because how much it costs. And, like, you really have to weigh the pros and cons when it comes to, does this specific school cater to the program to where I feel like I leave out of here and I'm knowledgeable enough to start my own business or to go into the graphic design corporate world and figure out, how I can maneuver as a graphic designer or how I can do freelance, like those type of things. So I did consider SCAD, and SCAD is a very prestigious art school. There's one in Savannah and there's also one in Atlanta. At the time, I was living in Savannah, Georgia. I did not want to be there anymore, so I was like, take me to a city that's 2 hours away. So then I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, and then I went and pursued my bachelor's degree there. I say all that to say graphic design is a very, let me make sure I'm using this word right. Let me ask Siri. Hey Siri, what does lucrative mean?
Lucrative means producing a great deal of profit.
Producing a great deal of profit. Okay. With graphic design, it is a very, it's a lucrative field because there are multiple ways on how you can get money. And when I say get money, I don't mean just like you're doing like a one and done type of thing, but there's so many different ventures that you could go to reach your clientele. So you could go the corporate route, which is working as a graphic designer, like an in-house graphic designer for an agency. You can do freelance if you want to do kind of business and scheduling on your own time, where you can pick the clients or cater to a specific audience of clients to where you do any type of work for them, graphic work, logos, invitations, flyers, posters, any type of branding material, those type of things you do with freelance. Or you could go into the field of teaching design, teaching graphic design. So for me, I've done all three of those. I have worked in the corporate graphic design setting ever since I got out of college in multiple establishments, multiple businesses, different startups, franchises. So I also did freelance while I was in college full time, and that was like a little side hustle thing. So it was just some extra income being, a broke college student as we were. And then also the teaching design business spectrum, that's what I'm venturing into now. But I still heavily do graphic design, 100% projects, everything, that I still do that. There's so many graphic resources to where people can actually like kind of do the designs themselves, don't really need to reach out to a graphic designer, which, I mean, you're saving money is the aspect that they think of it, but when you have a graphic designer, it is someone who is dedicated to the project that you're working on. They are not just like a one and done, type of project. It's like you build a relationship with the designer and the client. You get to know them. You understand, the business, the brand, the direction, whatever it is that you're doing. It's more of a relationship that's being built, and that's the sacredness of doing graphic design and having a graphic designer with you, an actual graphic designer. So I see all the time on social media, Instagram especially, people will leave comments like, oh, you need graphics, you need work. And it's just like these spammy comments. And I'm like, does that really work for y'all? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it doesn't work for y'all like that. I always see them, post, oh, I do graphics, I do logos, and they're charging like these outrageously cheap marked down prices. And it's just like, it looks good. I mean, for the person that doesn't know much about design, like, oh, I can get a cheap logo for $15, but it's a high risk, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But I see all the time people will be like, oh, okay, well, I'm self-taught. I didn't have to go to school, or I didn't have to get a certification or degree to say that I'm a graphic designer. Neither did I, but I went to school because I wanted to get my certification. I wanted to work in every aspect of graphic design, every field. I wanted to do corporate. I wanted to do freelance. I wanted to do business. I wanted to do all those things. So I felt like a degree was the only way that could get me into those doors, which it still heavily much is needed. You know, you still need a degree to even apply to a job where they want you to be a senior designer. You know, experience helps, but it's like you have to have the degree and experience. So you have to have both of them together. I know some people get their connections and stuff through networking, or like they know somebody that knows somebody, so they kind of like have like a little loophole. And that doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody has those luxuries to know somebody, you know? But I just feel like you, before you even go into any type of field for college, especially, you need to make sure, like, okay, this is what you seriously want to do. Because if you have a professional degree in this, you know, a professional certification, that is something that you can fall back on and something that you would not mind doing. Like me, before I even got into graphic design, I was going to be a physician assistant. I was on the medical track at my high school. Then I was in the science programs, and I was heavily that was me. I was going to be a physician assistant. But in 11th and 12th grade, my mind shifted because I'm like, you know what? I don't really think I want to do that. Like, nothing wrong with it. I just don't feel like my heart would be in it. I wouldn't feel, I didn't think I would feel fulfilled. So, yeah, just jumping around a little bit. But I see all the time people be like they were self-taught, and they use that in a way to kind of shame people who got a degree in it. But it's like it shouldn't be a shameful thing. Like there's multiple ways to learn a skill, a trade. There are people who went to film school to learn how to be a videographer, versus there are people who just picked up a camera and got like some YouTube fame and they're a videographer, and now, you know, like it's like this type of weird competition, like battle thing that goes on. And to me, it's unnecessary. Like, okay, you were self-taught, good for you. Okay, you have a degree in graphic design, good for you. You know, like it depends on where you're going with your career, how serious you're taking it. So I've never been one that's like, oh, well, I have my bachelor's degree here. I have my bachelor's degree in graphic design, so I know this. Because I went to school with people who had graduated with their bachelor's degree and their designs were crap. Like, it does not certify you that you are a good designer. It just means you are a designer with a degree in graphic design, but your work could still be crap. I don't mean to say it like their work sucked, but they were not as serious about it, and it showed. It showed very clearly. I just feel like, you know, it depends on which lane you're trying to go into with graphic design. When I went to school for graphic design, prior to going to school for graphic design, I only knew the very bare minimum. I knew, like, obviously how to use Photoshop, but I wasn't that skilled in learning how to use Illustrator or InDesign or the purposes behind each program. So when I went to college, it taught me how to use those programs a little further, what to do, which one caters to what. So, like I said, going into a graphic design was just, you know, logos, flyers, everything digital, graphically digital. And I think that's a lot of people's perspective when it comes to graphic design. But graphic design is everywhere. Like, this is graphic design, this is graphic design. It's literally everywhere. You can't go anywhere without any type of form of graphic design. Like, I'm looking all over my room, and without graphic design, without graphic designers, there would be no labels. There would be nothing. Like, seriously, there would be no kind of way to express any type of creativity for brands, for businesses, for logo. Like, seriously, I'm just looking at everything, and I'm like, if I just had a white label to just go over everything, you couldn't tell what it was. And that's where graphic design comes into play. Like, the world would be blank without graphic design. Going back, like I said, I had very limited knowledge on what graphic design was. So when I went to school for graphic design, when I met with my professors and I took the different courses like art history and graphic design history, type history, typography class where we made our own typefaces. Um, I had classes where they taught us how to do editorial campaigns, campaign ads, working with agency work. Like they taught me so much that I didn't know about. You know, I only knew about the freelance aspect of it. And it's like you can tap into all these different markets and just kill it in graphic design. So I was so intrigued to know more about like editorial design, like booklets and magazines and how to do book covers. We did every single type of project you can literally think of. And it was just so fun. Like every project I look forward to, well, some professors, they were kind of shady and I didn't really care to be in their class. But every single project I was looking forward to because it allowed me to expand my design skills. I didn't know that you could work in a campaign, in an ad agency and literally do one campaign for the entire year and just make bank, you know? Like I didn't know that you could do editorial and you're still considered, I didn't know these things. And if I didn't go to school for them, I would have to sit, obviously and do my research and stuff, but I'd have to be that interested in order to do my research. So I always reflect back on like my portfolio from where I started to where I am after where I was at after college and where I am now. Like you can literally see the growth. And it's like stuff I used to do before I even went to college for it and stuff I used to do in my first year. I cringe at it. I really do cringe because I'm like, oh my God, like. And then another very important thing when you go to school for graphic design and you're in that element and you're exposed to all of it, you start to get a designer eye. And a design eye is a real thing. It's when you're able to look at things and see it from a perspective as a designer, obviously, breaking it down to its simplest form. You don't look at a menu the same. You look at a menu and you break it down and figure out, okay, this layout, this typeface, this adjustment, this image placement, this effect. Like that's how your eye goes. It just like separates everything and sees how it comes together. And it's so amazing to have a designer eye. And it's a skill that not everybody has. There are a lot of designers who don't have the designer eye. It's not something that has to be found through just doing multiple kinds of projects and being exposed to those things. You start to learn it. I can't even look at anything regular. Like everything I look at it such on a deeper level. Like my mind just automatically shifts and goes into design mode no matter what it is I'm looking at. And it's just like, I've tried to turn it off. I've tried to not pay attention to it. It's like if you're a person who's like really stuck on grammar. Like if somebody uses the wrong grammar, the wrong letter, if they spell something wrong, like your eye just like does this twitchy thing and you're just sitting there trying to figure out why are you not using the proper grammar? Why do you talk like that? Like all those processes. So it's kind of the same when you're a graphic designer. You're just like, I hate that I can't look at a menu regularly. I hate that I can't look at a poster and like look at it without like, figuring out, oh my God, why is it like this? But another thing that college also taught me about was critiquing. So we did a lot of critiquing, which is just where you have moments of, it could be group critiques or like single critiques from like your professor. So mine kind of mixed in with group and classroom and then professor, but it really opens you up to constructive criticism because all criticism is not bad. Sometimes it really is people just seeing something else that could either help to improve your work or kind of make it a little better. You don't have to take every single thing that someone tells you about whatever it is that they're critiquing and make that adjustment. If you feel it doesn't really go with whatever direction you're doing, you don't have to do it. But college taught me about critiquing, proper critiquing techniques, how to receive feedback, especially when it comes to very extensive projects. The critiquing also helps with working with clients. If you want to go the freelance route, clients, sometimes they know what they want, sometimes they don't. They just really trust you to be like, okay, this is what I got to do. With that being said, like that opens you up to that as well and kind of like understanding, okay, where they're coming from. They're not really, they don't really know designer lingo. They're not really sure what to say or how to say it, but you are there to like kind of decipher that. Another thing about college, and I'm just saying these are just kind of like general things that you should be learning in college for the specific degree, but one critique I do have about my college is they did not teach me about the freelancer business side of graphic design. Like, not everybody wants to go into graphic design to be a corporate designer or like work in an agency or some type of corporate space or for a business. They kind of just taught you how to do that. They didn't teach you how to run a freelance business, how to gain clients, how to find clients. And I think the newer age designers going in, they have that added on to their curriculum as well. Like, okay, got the website, got the business card, got the resume, where do I find my clients? And now with the help of social media, like that's all intertwined. So I know that's another layer that they need to learn. But I do fault my school for not teaching us that. I kind of had to learn freelance as it went, like just looking up other freelance articles and different people who were in business of graphic design doing it themselves. Even if it wasn't like just freelance, more so people did like work type of digital courses design. And I see that's on the rise too. A lot of people are doing digital course graphic design, which is cool if it makes sense. I think it should go in relation to something else, but that's something totally different. I don't want to make this video too long, but I say all that to say that I think even in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, in the 2020X period, where we're currently in, I think it is still very important and very vital to go to school for graphic design. I know it might seem easy that you can just learn everything on your own and just get tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of experience, which is smart, I get it, but I say it just makes sense. It goes hand in hand because, you know, you're not always going to be doing freelance. You are going to need, if you run into a time where you need a steady paycheck, you know, you want to have that degree to where you're like, okay, I can go and apply for this graphic design job that's doing 70K and you need a degree and this much years of experience because you've had that experience from your freelance or whatever it is that you're doing, and you can take it into the corporate world. And I just think, honestly, just weigh out whether the school that you're looking at is even worth that money for the degree. You can always shop around different prices, different tuition prices, seriously, because you don't want to go spend 120K on this degree when you could have gotten it from somewhere else. And be mindful too that just because, you know, people, it's a coin toss, because there can be curriculums or they have like a 8-month course, learn graphic design for like 20K, you know. It's kind of like one of those things, you get what you pay for. So you're not going to get as much extensive knowledge within the field as you should. Like I mentioned, I have very skilled professors who worked in these spaces. Like, another example is we did a lot of ad work and like ad agencies. So I learned how to do like a campaign from start to finish. Like how a lot of these big corporations like Nike, Amazon, and all the big guys, like how they do their campaigning, especially when it comes to commercials, when it comes to editorial, stuff like that. Just to learn that, I would have never known that on my own. It's just, I could sit here for hours and just talk about all the things that I knew. The different typeface, like the history of fonts and typefaces. We had a class like that where we learned about who created what font, who created what typeface. We learned about different graphic designers who did certain pieces and how their work is influenced in a lot of what we see today, or they have like a unique style to them. It's just so much that I learned. Like, you would have to sit there and really be dedicated to do the research yourself. But it's like, where would you know where to start? Like, you wouldn't know really to look up, okay, let me look up the history of who created this typeface, you know, like who created this font. Like, you know, you have to want to know those things. Graphic design is such a beautifully complex career field. I absolutely love it. I live and breathe design. I'm a self-proclaimed design nerd. I just love everything about it. I love following design trends. I love figuring out new things. I love testing out and pushing and challenging my design skills. I love collaborating with other designers on collaborative projects. I love exciting color palettes. I love new fonts and typefaces. I have tons of them. Like, download them. Like, I love stock photography. I love everything. I study design. I study design and everything. And school has really helped me own my craft. And it's really helped me to just be the best designer that I can be, and also to influence other people who are interested in graphic design, or who also want to pursue a career field with it. And that's my direction for 2020. I am still doing graphic design full time. Of course, I can never stop that. But I want to shift my focus into teaching people design that they don't really understand, or they don't really know it too much, and just teach them like why it's important to know some form of design, some form of graphic design, whether it's for your business, for your personal, for just your life in general. It can really help you. It's super, super vital information and stuff that you need to know, especially in 2020, the future. Like, everybody has to know some aspect of graphic design, even if you only know like Canva or Adobe Spark. And that's another question too. People feel like those type of programs take the designer out of it, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. But I feel like even with those template stuff, it's not the same with having a real graphic designer. So those aren't a threat. And you know, I use Adobe Spark. I use Canva to do little quick things for social media. See, it's helpful for those type of things. But if you want like a full brand guideline, brand style standard, that's when you go to a graphic designer to show all those things. I know I'm jumping all over the place. Corporate identity. We took a class in college called Corporate Identity, and it's wayfinding signs. I recently went to the zoo, and I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but we did all the wayfinding signs. And I had just went to the zoo the previous year in 2019. And I'm like, oh my God, they redid all their signs, all their like banners and everything. And I was just sitting there like, okay, I'm gonna keep it in. I'm not gonna say anything, but this is amazing. I would have never learned about that type of design, environmental design, at all. We even took a course, we had a class where we did brand standards manual, and we did like a fictionary hospital. So with this, we had to do like a pamphlet for, I forgot what they call it. I had a hospital. It was a hospital, but they call it something. Anywho, so I had to do all the signage for that, and we had to do like little 3D models of it. We had to do like the illustrations of it. We did everything from the logo. We did the big signs. We did the elevator signs, the bathroom signs, like every single sign. So when I go into an establishment and I see like, okay, they've got, you know, nice wayfinding signs. It's just that part of me, like, you know, I would have never known this. And there are just so many things that I can go further in depth about when it comes to graphic design. But going to college, getting my degree in graphic design, and going to college for graphic design really helped my graphic design career. I think it also falls back on the person, how serious you are about the craft. Like, are you passionate about it, or are you just doing graphic design because you can just whip up some logos in Illustrator, or you just can do a quick flyer in Photoshop, you know? To be honest, Photoshop is not the program you should be using to make a flyer, but I've seen worse. Like I said, depends on how serious and how hard you want to go as a graphic designer, how bad you really want to know about it, how dedicated and involved you are in the field. Just like if a person is really into saving lives, you know, they're just not going to go and get a bachelor's degree as a doctor. They're going to want to go and get their whole PhD and open up their own practice in their own facility and have their own employees and stuff like that. Like, they want to know all of what their field entails. And that's how I am. I want to know every bit of it. I don't want anything left out. And like I mentioned, this year transitioning more into teaching people about the importance of design. And that's very exciting. I haven't really talked too much about it, but once I know for certain, I will definitely come on here and share the wonderful news, because that is going to be very life-changing for me. And I just can't wait. That's what I got for should you still go to school to be a graphic designer in 2020X? And my answer is all in this video. So I hope this was some helpful information to kind of gauge your decision and kind of help you feel out, okay, what your next step should be, what you should be considering, how serious you are about it. Graphic design is such an amazing field to be a part of. And I say that because graphic design is my life, and you have to be that serious about it. Like people say, ball is life, music is life, design, graphic design is life. Music is life too for me, especially. But graphic design is it's it for me. You know, it's what I do. It's my thing. And I hope that with this video, I've inspired other people who are kind of teetering on the fence if they want to go to school for graphic design or what they should do, what they should think of. I hope I've helped garner your decision ever so slightly. But if any of you have any questions at all in regards to graphic design or schools or what to look for, please reach out to me because I know a lot about design. So I like to share my knowledge, especially. So leave me a comment. You can even write me an email. I think I have my email in the description box. If not, you can check it out. I also have my website. So my website is graphiclookdesign.com, and I have it on there for you guys to see all my work, my digital portfolio. I also do things outside of design. I also do photography just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm a multi-passionate, multifaceted woman. So I like to do a lot of things. And they're just things that make me happy and really just solidify my purpose. So I thank you guys for watching this video, and I will do a follow-up video on how I used to design. I think that'd be a really good video to do to kind of show like the then and now of where I started and where I was in college and how I design now. It's all about growth, and we all got to start somewhere, humble beginnings. So thank you all for watching. Remember, stay graphic.